Another edition of the Let's Go Ricky Roll podcast. It's a little different today. Oh, let me cough right there. I'm coughing again because I just took another COVID test. I'm in San Antonio. Ricky is in his palatial estate somewhere in Southern California. I don't know which one he's at today. But today we're going to have a guest, somebody that you know really well, Ricky. And it's the first time we've had somebody on who didn't get to the big leagues, but he's still a big leaguer right now. Manny Barreda is pitching in Mexico, and we were talking about who do we want as the next guest, and I brought him up, and you're like, that's right, he's got a great perspective. Why did we have to have Manny on today, Rick?
I think the biggest thing is that it shows something different. I feel like this podcast has always had somebody that played in the big leagues, has done it at the big league level, or doing it at the big league level. And I was like, why don't we bring in something or someone that has a different perspective, that has tasted success here in the American level, as high as AAA, and now he's in Mexico in pretty much the big leagues, playing for one of the most prestigious teams, if not the most prestigious team in Mexico, with the Culiacan Tomateros. Yeah. And I just kind of want to see, like, you know, what the process of, like, when do you decide that, you know what, I'm going to take all my talents and just dedicate to playing over there? Because obviously your dream for everyone that's pitching here in the United States is to get to the big leagues. That didn't happen. At what point did he realize, like, hey, you know what, maybe the money isn't right for me. I'm getting older. Maybe I'll go there. You know, I'll have a day named after me every time I pitch, every fifth day, all that good stuff, you know? So to me, it's intriguing. You've been talking about it for a while, saying, like, we need something different, a little different, maybe just, you know, throw a little bit of a curveball right there,
yeah,
for everyone. And I think this is the perfect guy to do it with.
Yeah, I said this last week to you. Like, we're the North American podcast of record because we controlled Canada and Newfoundland. We got some people in Mexico now. Shout out to all the ladies in the Toronto Blue Jays organization. What's her? I'm sorry, I'm blanking on their names right now, Rick.
Marty, Shannon, Steph. There's so many.
Because I got to send them stickers. I have 10 stickers left, so I'm going to just send them to the Blue Jays front office. Is that where I should send it, right? Because I follow them on the Let's Go Ricky Roll Instagram page, so I didn't want to get the names wrong. But I'm going to send the stickers to you, and I actually sent out a bunch of stickers last week. So today's podcast is going to be really interesting. Now, imagine this. You're a high school stud. You win the high school state region in the Tucson area, but you're from such a small town that there's no stoplight there. There's no Taco Bell there. But you're a stud, you get drafted by the Yankees. You sign. You get to Double-A with the Yankees after 6 years. You've had Tommy John. You missed a bunch of time. You get released by the Yankees. You're now 26 years old. You go to the Brewers in the minor league organization. Then they let you go, and you're like, what's going on here? What am I doing with my life? I want to get to the big leagues. And you have a chance to go play in Mexico for a bunch of money. You sign with Monterrey, and then Monterrey void your contract. You go to Tijuana, they void your contract. You're left without a team, and you're trying to figure out what's going on. And I've always said in the past, for me, my only perception of Mexico baseball was eastbound and down. Like when Kenny Powers was down there, I'm like, there's no way. That's where careers go to die. This is the perception I had as the typical American who didn't know any better. Like if you're playing down there, you're probably the dude who's on amphetamines, who probably is like 100 pounds overweight, and you're just, because that's the perception that I had of Mexico baseball. And then you went down there and played in Tijuana, and first of all, I was scared out of my mind when I went across the border because I'm a typical American guy, Latino light, and I'm like, this is the most fun I've ever had a baseball game. Completely flipped my mind, and I realized that these guys down here, not only are they professionals, they're freaking good, but they decided that instead of being in AAA, playing in front of 80 people, making a couple $100, I can come down here, make a lot of money, get my face on the side of billboards, on the side of buses, and get treated like a rock star, and pitch for a while. And that's the story of today's guest, Manny Barreda. This is completely different out there.
It's crazy. I'm telling you, it's crazy because what you said is really true. You go out there, the first time I stepped foot with the photo of Tijuana, I was like, holy smokes, there's a lot of talent here. A lot of talent. You see it every time, every game. I'm like, and nothing against the league, but at times I was like, geez, what is Manny doing here? You know, a guy like Manny. And I want him to explain too. I want him because when he took photos of Tijuana and I was there, he belonged to the Atlanta Braves. So he was under Pirlo with the Atlanta Braves. It was just a weird situation that I really never understood. And I was like, you know what? Like I said, there's so many things and parts to his story that I feel like are going to be really unique and interesting. That I feel the listener out there kind of expands their horizons and says, "Wow, while there's a big league game going on here, there's a big league game going on in Mexico during the summer." And it's crazy because over there's 15, 20,000 people going crazy over the photos of Tijuana. Here, you got the LA Dodgers where, 30, 40,000 are going crazy over the LA Dodgers, and they love them just as much.
Yeah, after I saw you play in Tijuana that 1 month, I did some more reading, and I realized that some nights the Toros at Tijuana had a bigger crowd than the Padres did, because because the Padres were playing a Wednesday against, say Pittsburgh, and they didn't have anybody, they weren't drawing, and there was a bad team. And it's just a completely different version. So today's guest is Manny Barreda, who is now playing winter ball. He's in Culiacan, which is a whole nother world, because baseball doesn't stop in the northern part of Mexico. He joins us right now from Culiacan, making his debut. Manny Barreda, who's never done a podcast in his life, who had to go to the Oxxo to get some internet, and had to dust off the computer. Welcome to the Let's Go Ricky Roll podcast.
Man, I don't have any famous friends that invite me to podcasts. They don't do podcasts out here in Mexico. It's straight like into the newspaper. Maybe some YouTube or some Instagram live, and that's about it.
Look at you! Look at you! What are you doing in Culiacan right now?
Man, I'm just chilling. Actually, we have stretch at 3:30 or 3, I believe. We pretty much show up like 5 minutes before stretch here, so it's not a big deal. Just chilling before the game. There's nothing really to do out here right now with this whole COVID thing. Everything's pretty. I mean, we're pretty much banned from doing anything out in public.
And you're playing for the Tomateros, which is the Mexican Winter League down there.
Which is the Mexican Yankees out here. A lot of teams claim that. This is the organization. This is like one of the top organizations out here. Probably the one with the most money out here. Not the one with the most, because there's other ones out here that are popping up. I feel like baseball's growing a lot more, but this one's one of the most prestigious organizations out here.
And Manny, when you heard us talking about you right now, what'd you think?
Man, I got a little chills. You guys were pumping me up, and that felt good. It felt good to get pumped up in English.
Yeah, let me tell you about the first interaction, or the first time I walked into the Tijuana clubhouse, and I saw Manny. The first thought, honestly, and yeah, I don't know if I told you this, I was like, "Who the hell is this loudmouth going crazy on the court?" Yeah, because he doesn't shut up. He is just like go, talking shit to everyone.
And he needs a podcast. He'd be perfect.
And
oh my God.
No, but in all seriousness, I watched him pitch one game, and I was like, "Holy shit! Like, this guy's got good stuff. Like, he's got great stuff." And not only that, that's not the only thing that I was like amazed by. It was the way he prepared, his work ethic before starts, how focused he was. And in Mexico, for some reason, they love their long distance running. And we were talking about it yesterday in the group chat, Beto, about Rafa Diaz, who pitched for such a long time. That guy was like a super marathon runner, and these guys would just go all of batting practice, just running laps around the field like the whole time. Something that's I've never seen, because you don't see it here in the United States when you're playing pro ball here. You just don't see that during batting practice. And it was just like a whole completely different world of how we're seeing these guys prepared and go out there and be successful.
Hey, Rafa actually ran marathons before games. I was his roommate a couple times, and he would go run these marathons in Durango, and I don't remember what other cities. There's like 3 cities where he would run a marathon before he would go out there and pitch in relief. So, I mean, yeah, that was crazy. And he was like 46 years old at the time.
It's what I learned when I went down there couple times is that Mexico is different. And this is what I want to get into today, because people might look down at it as like, well, they're playing in Mexico, or people might say they're playing in Japan, they're playing whatever. But the quality of play down there is because you guys choose to go down there. I mean, some guys end up there, they're in their late 30s and they're hanging on. But you, Manny, got released by the Brewers and got released by the Yankees, and you said, I got to AAA. You made a decision, a hard decision in your life when you're in your late 20s to say, okay, I'm going to give up on the major league dream and go to Mexico. How and why did all that happen?
Well, actually, I got released by the Yankees, and I signed within like an hour. I signed with the Brewers that year. Ended up with the Brewers, and I finished up that season knowing that damn, like I'm not sure this is the way. I ended up re-signing with the Brewers. The Brewers were a great organization to me at that time. Like it was a good fit. But I already had in my mind, like, seeing all these guys making more money in Mexico than they were like in the minor leagues. And at that time, I think I was about to get married. So I mean, I needed money. Like, let's be real. Like in minor league baseball, no matter how much money you're making, it cuts down to like half of it, and maybe even a third of it once you start paying rent and all those payments. And here in Mexico, it's straight up. You make say $8,000, you make $8,000. You don't. They pay for your rent. They pay for. I mean, at that point, they even pay for your flights or anything you need for your family. So I go back to the Brewers spring training, and I realized, like, hey, I'm stuck in AA with this organization. And at that time, I had already talked to a few teams. Monterrey was one of the teams. I don't know if you guys remember Oscar Villarreal. He was a pitcher in the big leagues with a few teams, and he was the one calling me. He's like, "Hey, dude, these guys want you out here." And so I talked to them, and I talked to the Brewers. The Brewers were like, "Hey, we don't want to let you go, but we understand your situation. Like, you got you want to make money." And I think I was like 25 at the time. I mean, fairly young, but for someone who hadn't been out of AA, I feel like I was kind of old. I was already into my 9th or 8th professional season, I think. So I felt stuck. And I come out here to Mexico. I come out here to Monterrey thinking everything was going to be great. And I literally got Mexicoed. Like, that's what you get called. That's what you call it when you get screwed out here.
Wait, hold on, Manny. Hold on, Manny. I've heard the term, you got Mexicoed, and then there's the other one that's fucking Mexico, right?
Oh, no. I can't say fucking Mexico because I got a lot of love.
No. The term, the Sanabias told me where, or other guys have said it where it's you're not saying fucking Mexico, you're just more like fucking Mexico. Like that. What happened? Fucking Mexico.
Yeah, sin ley, bro. Sin ley. Like, there's no law. It's crazy, man. I show up, and I'm about to sign my contract, and I speak to like the head honcho of the owner of the Monterrey team, and I explained to him, I was like, hey, I really I really appreciate the opportunity. Money was what we had agreed to. They even agreed to give me my own room, which wasn't like it's not very common here in Mexico for a guy who's not a big leaguer. But I mean, that's something I negotiated, and it worked out for me. But when it came to, hey, if I pitch well and I get the opportunity to re-sign with an American team or somewhere else, just let me go. Like, don't ask for a bonus, because what they do here in Mexico is they ask. You could be 30 years old. And if a team in the U.S. wants to sign you, they'll ask for $1 million just so they can make some money off of you. So I'm like, dude, nobody's gonna pay the amount of money for me if I'm trying to go back to the States. And he's like, no, I can't do that. And I was just like, well, I can't sign. And I remember that day I talked to a couple other players on other teams, and I didn't know how it worked. Like, I really didn't know how it worked. I didn't sign a contract. I had just came to terms, verbally, but I never signed a paper. So I called other teams, and hold on, my this computer here is about to restart. And so I called other guys, and they're like, "Hey, dude, why don't you come over here?" and one of the guys was someone in Toros de Tijuana, Dennis Reyes, the Dodger pitcher, little Valenzuela. That's what they used to call him. And he's like, "Why don't you come here, TJ?" So instead of going to practice the next day, I get on an airport. I get to the airport. I get on a plane, and they're calling me. They're calling me. They're like, "Hey, what happened?" I was like, "Hey, I can't sign with you." They're like, "Well, we're gonna." They pretty much told me, "Hey, we're gonna get you to never play in this league again." I'm like, "Why? I never signed a contract." And I was talking to the other guys in TJ. They're like, "Don't worry about it. That's the tactic they use." And when I show up in TJ, I'm active on the roster for a week. I remember the first road trip I made was Tabasco and Veracruz. Like that was like my reality to like, damn, I'm in Mexico. It's deep south, hot as balls. Literally the first series that I'm in, there was like people throwing ice at us from the stands because we got in a brawl. And I was like, damn, what did I get myself into? Like it was like that. And they're like, hey, you can't leave the stadium yet because there's people outside with machetes probably gonna try to beat you guys up. And it was real. And I was like,
that's the one thing that I was pretty in shock about Mexico when I was there. I spent a month and a half there. Is how after the game you walk through the concourse where all the fans are at. They're all waiting for you. They can, and I'm not saying I'm special or anyone's special by any means, but like these people can literally come up to you, and if they wanted to, they can come and punch you and run away. Like that's how close they are to you. And Manny, and you remember the years that year that I was there with you guys when we went to Durango. Durango had a team for the first time ever. And remember that series we went, and it was 5,000 people, but it sounded like literally 20,000 people. Like these people were from like just cussing every single Mexican word at you that you can think of. And the funny thing is, I sat in the dugout for a little bit, and these guys are dishing it out. This is that too. The guys that are in the bench are like yelling back at the fans, and the fans are yelling at the players, and it's a shit show, man. But it's fun, Like I said, it's fun. But a lot of it is just it's a completely different game out there in the sense that the way that the fans interact with players and the players interact with fans.
Yeah, you can't take it personal out here, dude. Like it happened to Sanabia, Alex Sanabia one time. He pulled the Ron Artest, and he's trying to fight like it was in Mexicali, and I mean that's pretty. I would say like it's a border town. It's kind of Americanized, but they go crazy too. And it happened to me one time in Mexicali. A lady tried to spill like her drink on me, and I had hot coffee, and I was about to just wet her with hot coffee, but luckily somebody stopped me. So yeah, go back to how I signed here was I got suspended. Like I show up to TJ, and when I get back, they're like, "Hey, the league decided to suspend you," and I was like, "Why?" They're like, "Well, because you came to an agreement. They said that you signed a contract." I was like, "I never signed a contract. Like, obviously, if I would have signed a contract, I would have never left because I knew I was like all deep in there, But I never signed a contract, and I still got suspended. And it was at that point.
Mexico.
They called it a gentleman's agreement. And it was like, that's not gentleman-like, you know what I mean? Like, I was the one that got screwed. But it was a point where I think it was like a couple years before Ricky came out here. There was like 3 teams in this league that ran everything. They decided who played, who didn't play. They decided pretty much who came out positive in the drug test. It was a shit show. Like, and I'm not gonna name the teams because everybody that's been out to Mexico and played in the summer league knows. But there was 3 teams that ran the whole thing, and they screwed a lot of guys over.
All right, let me try to break this down for people who don't know how Mexico works, and myself included. There's a regular season that happens when Major League Baseball is going on, right? They call this the summer league, right? That's where we're talking about toros, and you play the regular 100-something games, and you play all over Mexico, and that's the summer league, right? And then there's the Winter League where you're playing right now, which is like Mexicali, Culiacan, Charros, all that other stuff. Well,
Yeah.
Now, are those two leagues connected, or is it completely separate?
They're completely separate. But I mean, obviously, it's like I think there's 16 teams in the summer league, and there's 10 teams here, I believe, or maybe 12. But it's like the better players out of that league come to this one, combined with some minor league guys and some foreign guys that come out here. So it is a different league. It's almost the same guys though. It's a lot of the same guys, but they're ran by different people.
Okay, now let me ask this question. When you play Winter League, like with the normal summer, you play your team, right? That's your squad. Nothing changes. Winter League, it's guys come out and play just for a couple weeks sometimes, or they don't play the entire winter.
Oh, it depends on who the guys are. Like us Mexican guys that play here in Mexico, we're pretty much like, I'm not gonna say forced, but we're kind of like, hey, you're playing from October till the end of the season, because it's kind of frowned upon. Like if you don't come out here, they're like, what else? What else do you have going for you? And when it's like a minor league guy, they can come out here and they can claim their organization stopped them, and they come out here sometimes for a week, 2 weeks. Foreigners, the same thing.
Okay.
That's
so
how
let's say, for example, Julio Urias wants to go and play. He probably belongs to the Culiacan Tomateros, right? Is right?
Yeah.
So he's gonna come in. He's not obviously gonna show up in October. He can show up in November, December. Same as Oliver Perez has done it for so many years with you guys. And when you're at that status and you've built that status, I feel like you can pretty much set your schedule. Hey, I'm gonna come in during this time, and you see the team's gonna cater to you, because that's just
All right, so if you're property of a U.S. Major League team, you can do that where you only play a little bit. But these American guys that go down there and play, like they're down there, and I've heard stories that they just make a bunch of money because they come down there and they rake and they're doing all kinds of stuff because they hit well, and then they just stay until they're in their 40s. Like those American guys out there, like how come they're not in the big leagues, Manny?
I mean, there's just so many other things too. Like, I would say there is a lot of talent out here, and you see it. There's guys out here that throw 100. There's guys out here that throw 95, 96. Every pitch. But I don't know. I just sometimes I can't wrap my head around it. But I feel like baseball has changed so much. Back in the day, if you threw 96, you were gonna have a chance to be in the big leagues. Or if you threw 100, you were gonna have a chance to be in the big leagues. But now organizations in the big leagues they just run a whole different way, and even hitters, like there's power. We got Chris Carter out here hitting like 50 bombs.
He hit. Did he hit 40 2 years ago for the?
Yeah, he had like something ridiculous. Like
you're right. Baseball is different, but that's what I've always wondered, like that when you go down there. So with the Winter League for you, Manny, you're like the guy down there. You made the decision to leave U.S. baseball. You stuck with it, and then I go to spring training a couple years ago. You guys were working out in Arizona, and you're on the side of a freaking bus. You have billboards. There is literally a hashtag. Ricky, go for it. What is it? When Manny pitches?
Manny Day. But let's stop pumping his ego, man. Come on, he don't need that anymore.
Man, I've come a long way since you met me, that loudmouth. I'm still the loudmouth, but now I got my own day, man. So now you can just imagine what's loud.
Okay, hey. What the hell is Manny Day?
Man, I'm not gonna claim it, but when they I guess 3-4 years ago, it was a day I pitched and they called it Manny Day, and it took off from there. I think I did well, and it just took off from there. From now on, everything is Manny Day. We're actually having our players jersey this series, and my name on the back is Manny Day. It's kind of embarrassing because guys will come up to me, he's like, "Hey, Manny Day," and I'm just like, "Oh man, I don't know if he's making fun of me or if he's like for real," because it's like,
oh, they're probably making fun of you, dude.
yeah, they probably are. But I mean, I got
No, Manny, tell the listeners a little bit of where you grew up and with baseball, your love and passion growing up. Like, was it something that you knew you were gonna do, or like a little bit just quick about like
yeah.
growing up, where you grew up, the high school level, getting drafted and all that, going to a prestigious organization like the Yankees. When you show up to those facilities there, it's crazy, dude. You walk in and you're like, the first time I walked in when I got drafted, I was in Dunedin and High, and when you walk into those spring training facilities, you're like, wow, this is just different.
Wow. Well, I grew up in a small town south of Tucson, and actually, I went to school in a small town. I grew up in a smaller town. Where I grew up, there was literally like a couple stop signs, and that was it. There was no like store or anything. But yeah, so I got drafted out of high school, but before high school, I mean, I thought I was going to be a position player. I played infield the whole time. I always pitched, but and I always had a good arm, but I was a position player, and I would actually play. Look at that. That's turning two right there. That was my thing. In high school, one of the things that helped me out the most was going into Mexico and playing in these like I'm not gonna say semi-pro because there's no such thing as semi-pro, but it was like it was actually like a professional league because some of the guys were getting paid. Some of the guys were getting paid, and we were sponsored by Tecate. We drew like 4,000, 5,000 fans in small little towns, and I would go out there and pitch. And I was like 14 playing with like 30-year-old men.
That's what you talked, Ricky. You've talked about those games.
Yeah. And finally.
Yeah, I was playing, and yeah, we played on Sundays, and I think there was a couple series that drew a lot of fans, so we played on Saturday and Sunday, and it was crazy. That's what pretty much like made me a man playing like with little kids. When I went back to high school, things was easy, and I played infield all throughout high school. I played infield. I pitched. I remember my first game in high school. My head coach, my high school coach, he knew some baseball. He was actually a part-time scout with the White Sox. And I told him, I was like, "Hey, coach, I can pitch." And he laughed at me. I was like 5'7" at the time. Like I was even shorter than I am now, Ricky, if you can believe that. And my coach laughed at me. He's like, and I probably weighed like 130. My coach laughed at me. He's like, "Man, you'll never get on the mound." And sure enough, like one of our aces went down in my freshman year, and he's like, "Hey, you said you pitched. Like, go ahead, you got the game." And I threw a no-hitter that game. My first high school game on varsity, I threw a no-hitter.
This guy.
I pitched. From then on, I pitched, and I did well. But my thing was I was going to be a hitter. I thought I was going to be a shortstop, second baseman, and I hit well. And the funny thing was when I went through these workouts, I would always take my bat and my glove, and I think they just felt bad for me, and they would let me like hit and field. But I didn't know. My high school coach, he knew like how the draft worked, but I had no idea. We had never had anybody drafted from our high school, and I don't think I ever met anybody, or I kept in touch with people that were drafted. I never I didn't know how it worked.
The story I read about you, Manny. Let me refresh your memory. Your school, you and your teammate were the first ones ever drafted out of your high school. You guys won the championship that year in Arizona, and since then, only one other person has been drafted since. That was a few years ago.
I think now there's been a couple more. There's been talent out of there. But
yeah, you did an interview once, and you said that you didn't know how the draft worked, and that you had never met anybody who had ever been drafted, because that's how small a town you were from.
Yeah, well, my high school class, I think we graduated like 300 or 400 people, and that was like the biggest class in probably 50 years of the school's history. But yeah, I didn't know how it worked. And so when I signed and I got my contract and everything, I didn't know. I didn't even ask. I read the contract and it said right-handed pitcher, but I didn't know what that meant. Like, I mean, I knew what it meant, but I was like, all right. I mean, I didn't know if that was like the only thing I was gonna do. So when I didn't take bats because my obviously my luggage wasn't like. I was like, I'll get bats over there, right? Like, and I was like, all right, cool. I took my fielding glove, I took my batting gloves, I took my wristbands. I was like, I'll hit. Like, they're gonna let me hit too, and I was just like, okay. But and the thing was, like, nobody told me, like, hey, you're gonna pitch for us. Like, no, I thought I was gonna be maybe get a chance to hit and then pitch. I don't know. I didn't know.
All right, let me slow you down here because there's so many questions I got already. Wow, Manny, you're a nice guy, Manny. You're really nice, but mijo, no sabes nada. You had no clue what was going on in your world. Now, you're from a small town, right? You might as well just be es de rancho the way you're talking right now. And you had committed to University of Arizona. You got drafted in what? As an infielder. You got drafted in what round?
I got drafted in the 12th round.
Did you know that there was possibility of you being drafted? Did you even know that?
Oh yeah, I knew. Like,
so you knew. You knew.
Yeah, I knew. I think I knew since like my junior year, and I committed to like Arizona, and I took like a visit to Arizona. I actually committed after my freshman year to Arizona State, and it was the same thing. Like, it was primarily as an infielder, and Arizona State at the time was like number one in baseball. Like, they were the guys. Like, and I thought I was going to be an infielder there too, and they told me that, like, hey, you're going to play infield and you're going to come out and close for us. I was throwing 96 as a senior in high school at the time, so I was all right.
But Manny, the Yankees call you, right?
Yeah.
How did that conversation go when they say you get drafted?
I was at my high school coach's like house. My parents were working, and we were following it on the tracker, the MLB tracker, whatever. And it got to a point where I was like, it was like the 12th round, and I think the Yankees were like the last ones. And it got to the point where I was like, man, I'm not gonna get drafted. And I was like, if I don't get drafted within like these next couple rounds, I'm not signing. Like, I don't care if the money was the same. Like, I'm not gonna sign. I was like, it was just my ego, and I didn't know how things work. But I was like, I'm not gonna sign. And then sure enough, pops up the Yankees drafted me, and I worked out for them, but I never had like any long conversations with the Yankees. I thought it was going to be another team that I had really done well for in front of, and the Yankees were like, I don't even know what they think of me. Like, they never even talked to me after my workout,
And Manny, did you ever consider going to school and not signing?
No. No, honestly, no, man. I had committed to Arizona, and Arizona was like the first team that sent me like packages, like those packages you get when you're like a stud, Rick. Like,
no, I don't know. So explain.
My freshman year in high school.
Was it Andy Lopez who recruited you?
Yeah, Andy Lopez.
Wow.
And my freshman year of high school, man, like after my freshman year, I had a really good freshman year. Like, I hit like 430, ERA of like 0.63 or something like that.
But who remembers these things, right? Who remembers them?
I mean, I remember that because that was like my best season ever.
Who were you guys playing against?
Nobody.
Yeah. We were playing the small. We actually played really good schools, but we also played like really like small schools. We did. Yeah, they sent me like I remember this like to this day. I remember like my dad was like really excited, and he's like, "Hey, look what you got in the mail," and it was like this big envelope with like it was Arizona, like Arizona baseball, and it was like their program. And it was just like introducing themselves because they can't really do anything much, but they was just like a bunch of things, and I was going crazy, man. That was really exciting. And then from then that day, I ended up getting a bunch of letters. Like after that day, a bunch of letters, and I still have them in my house actually. Like,
that's cool.
It's like a huge box, And I show my little brother, because my little brother actually just committed to a junior college. And I show him, I was like, man, I was a stud. Where you at, man? And yeah.
You're so upset.
Is that I was getting recruited by these schools. I think it was my junior year. I think when you start getting like calls or whatever. And I was getting recruited by these schools, and a lot of schools were like jumping off of me because I wouldn't answer. And my head coach is like, hey, a bunch of these schools said they're sending you text messages and you're not answering. And I was like, Coach, I don't have any text messaging. Yeah, I lost a couple opportunities there because I didn't have text messaging. I didn't.
Wow, Rick, we're gonna need a part 2 to just. There's so much right now with this kid. Like, how do you walk and chew gum at the same time? Like, how?
Dude, remember when Verizon would charge you like $30 for 250 text messages? Like, yeah. I'm not gonna say it because my wife is gonna get kind of mad right here, but I had a girlfriend who I told her, I would always tell her, like, don't send me text messages. And it was like constant text message. I was like, man, my mom's gonna kill me. My mom's gonna kill me. So like, she shut down my text messaging. Like, and it was, that's what happened. Guys like Texas Tech, Oklahoma State, Oklahoma. They all had a relationship with my high school coach, and they're like, hey, we're trying to text message him, and he doesn't answer. So we're out of there. And that's what happened, man.
But you weren't going to college anyways. Yankees. All right, so back to the Yankees. That contract. They call you. How much did they give you?
Not that much.
Right. No, but you took it right away, right? So it's like, hey, that's it.
I took it right away. Yeah, I took it right away, and I didn't know. Honestly, I should have waited. And I think I would have.
No, but think about it right here. You're 17, 18-year-old Manny Barreda, a humble kid from a small town who the week before was playing Sunday League against grown-ass men getting paid in beer. Those guys are.
Literally, yeah. The week before. I told the team that I was playing with in Nogales, I was like, hey, I probably won't be coming next week because I think I'm going to get drafted. And they just like looked at me like, oh, okay, cool. Like, they didn't know.
Like, yeah.
You know what's funny about that too? I did it right after a summer. I went after my freshman year at Fullerton. I went summer baseball up in Northern Ohio, and something didn't work out with the coach there. I won't mention his name because he was a complete asshole. And I left. I ended up coming home, and I called the coaches at the house at Fullerton, and I was like, hey, I'm going to go get some more innings, and I'm going to go play Sunday League on my dad's team. And that's how I got better that summer, and I came in more confident going into my sophomore year of college. So it's just one of those things where me and you have always talked about it, Beto. We're always intrigued by how many – we always say we wonder how many big leaguers were playing, like that come from a culture were playing in those Sunday leagues back in the day, and now they're in the big leagues or they're in the minor leagues somewhere.
I was telling Manny, I've always told Ricky I want to do something. Even though I don't know how to make a movie, I want to make a documentary on something. These big leaguers like yourselves, professional pitchers, who as 14, 15-year-old little kids pitching against grown-ass men who are getting loaded in the dugout between innings, and then they're out there playing against you guys, like you two, Sergio Romo, a bunch of other guys that have been that grew up in this border towns that played against those, like all that travel ball stuff, all that scout team stuff. Go play Sunday League against these grown ass men. That'll make you a man right there, right? Like there's a story there.
That's where I learned how to throw like a slider and a changeup because my kid was getting rocked. You got these beer bellied 30, 35-year-old men like just sitting on your fastball, bang, and I was like, damn, I got to learn. And I learned a changeup, I learned a breaking ball, but it was just all because of what you saw. I mean, there was guys literally throwing like 80 miles an hour, getting out because they threw a good slider or whatever, and I was just like, I gotta learn something from these guys.
Right, that's another podcast. That's another story. There's a movie there about these guys because I've always it's fascinating that you hear like how you have to go play in those leagues and you're representing And like you said, there are 4,000 or 5,000 people coming out, and I can only imagine the gambling that goes on in the stands for those games too. Because we'll leave that another story, man.
Forget about the gambling. Just imagine the drinking that goes on. Like that's like where the story's at. Dude.
You got mariscos and beer before, during, and after the game, and they do that. They chill. I was obviously, when I was playing there, I started at the age, I was in high school. I was like 14, 15 years old, and I wasn't doing any of that. But I was like, man, these guys are coming up to you and saying, I'm going to hit a bomb off you. All right, let's go then. Let's go, and that's basically what makes you kind of get ready for grown ass man, so that when the time comes, and when it came for me, I was in college in the big leagues and all that. I was like, obviously you run through times of failures, but nobody faces you at that point. I didn't care if it was Derek Jeter or Miguel Cabrera. It was like, all right, let's go.
Yes, that's true.
Yeah. Ricky, Manny, you're such a fascinating little guy, man. Because there's so many stories. No, honestly, Manny, because when we ask people to come on the podcast, we don't know how they're going to react, because, you know, when you're having a conversation like this, you got to have personality, and you have a lot of personality, but you said it, you've never done a podcast before. You've only done interviews before. Some people who we think would be good come on and they're like frozen. So Ricky, what direction you want to go with this guy right now?
Well, one, I want to take credit for his no-hitter he threw in Tijuana when I was there, because when I got there, this guy I'm like, what is the issue with Manny? He's got great shit. He's around the plate. What is the issue with him? The more I watch him, and somehow I ended up in the bullpen with go to the Tijuana, which I was like, you know what, this is it for me. I'm done. Anyways, but the times I got to watch from the dugout, I was like, okay, I found what it is. And I kind of related it to myself a little bit. I was like, this guy is working too hard for a guy that has great shit. And what I mean by that is great fastball, I mean, when you look up to the scoreboard, you're seeing 94, 95, and I'm like, okay, why is he getting hit? Why is he always in trouble? And he's got such good stuff that it almost seemed like he was just trying to do so much with one pitch. And I said, hey, dude, the day you learn that your stuff is plenty good enough and you're in the zone, it's going to play perfectly. And then next thing you know, next outing, he goes out and he throws a damn no-hitter with the photos. And I remember I ran from the bullpen. I was on a full sprint, and I gave him a hug, and I was like, what did I tell you, dude? And so that's why I like to take credit for that no-hitter. I never threw one, so I'm going to take credit for that one.
As you should, Ricky. Hey, Ricky, congratulations on your no-hitter, Ricky.
Man, thank you. Coaching by me.
You know what? One of the things is, like, I would always stick around these guys, and it was Ricky and even Rafa. Rafa was one of the guys that was like, "Hey, you know, let's run," and it was a competition. Like sometimes, like with this 46-year-old man outrunning me, and I was like, I ain't gonna let him outrun me. And but yeah, Ricky was one of the guys that I would always hang out with, and I think he only played with us for a month and a half, but we've been pretty close ever since. And I think it's because, you know, we'd always be hanging out with each other, and I would always just be picking his brain. I know he wasn't at the best place baseball wise in his life or in his career at that point, but I knew everything that he was telling me was from things that he had gone through in the past, and I was going to be able to learn from his mistakes, and that's, you know, I appreciate Ricky for all that. And even Sanabia was one of the guys that we would always talk to. And it was just, you know, you went down there and you saw how you know, how close you were. And
that's the one thing I said. I'm not even going to Mexico, and I never saw anyone below me. I said, I'm going to come in here and I want people to pick my brain, because I've been to places where these guys hope they go one day. And I wasn't going to come in and be bitter or be like, oh, yeah, I'm too good for this shit, or why is this stuff like this and why is this stuff like that? I said, man, I see so much potential in you. I told him, I was like, I see so much potential in you. It's up to you, dude. The day you harness it, the day you say, my stuff is plenty good enough, that's the day that it's going to change for you. And I guess I'll take credit for Manny Day, too.
The podcast, it is live right now on YouTube. A couple of people watching. I didn't promote it, but it is live. But here we go. Here's a question that comes in from Juan Wera. Can you ask Manny to describe the difference in the crowds between the Major League games and the Mexican League games?
I've never been, I've been to like spring training games and whatever in the big leagues, but I've never been a part of in the dugout of a Major League game. But
you've been to AAA, so AAA equivalent. The difference between.
Better question. What's the largest crowd you ever played in front of in the minor leagues? Like what level?
Oh, in the minor leagues, I think we played like Charlotte. We played in front of like 17,000 fans or whatever. But you can't compare that to 10,000 fans going crazy here in Mexico. I played in crowds here in Mexico of like 25,000, I think, or 20,000. And that is insane. We actually walked it off as Team Mexico, walked it off. And the crowd, that was like the craziest thing I've ever felt. And just winning championships out here is crazy. But regular season games here in Mexico, Thirsty Thursdays, you've been to them, they are insane. Like,
the beer is like, the beer is so big and it's dollar beer. And you're just like, oh my goodness.
Manny, the perfect example. Let me break it down here. All right. The beer is crazy. They bring it to you, the cubeteros, the guys in orange vests. I got yelled at because I went to go get a beer, and then the guy's like, no, yo te lo traigo. I bring it to you. And I'm like, all right, bro. Yeah. Like, sorry about it. Both you guys frozen. All right, we'll keep on going. All right. It's resuming. Okay, cool. So, yeah, back to Manny, Ricky, explain this to me. You were talking about the crowds. It's fun. It's crazy. It's all that everything else out there. But field, there are mascots. Oh, don't tell me it's frozen. Oh, right, there's Ricky.
I'm good. I'm back.
All right, Manny. All right.
Are you like on an hour limit internet in San Antonio?
Man, I think it's Canelo got mad at me because we're talking about baseball. We're not talking about Guadalajara at all. So too much Culiacan talk for Canelo or something, man. His internet. All right. So here's the question I'm asking. There's freaking mascots on the field while you're playing. What the hell is going on?
Not just any mascots. You got like Chango, and if you guys don't follow him, he would fight like in the middle of the street. Like it's pretty crazy. But this guy is insane. Like during the game, he'll pretty much like he'll get the crowd to cheer at the umpire and call him like puto, like and then he'll be like at the umpire like, puto, and like man, there's so many things that are so illegal and he would get sued for in the US that it's incredible. People come out here and they're like, how is that like possible? Like, and people love it. Like it's crazy. It is crazy.
But okay, but you as a player, you're pitching, right? You're in a zone, and you look over, and there's a chicken arguing with the umpire.
Yeah, the game sometimes there's been literally times where the game has stopped because they'll get like the mascot and he'll start doing too much, and they'll be like, hey, time out, and then they'll like get him out the way. They're like, all right, let's get back to play.
There was one game in TJ where Chango got thrown out of the game. The mascot got thrown out of the game. I'll never forget that. And he was, I remember him sitting in the dugout and like just sitting like really, really sad that he got thrown out of the game. He wasn't allowed back on the field.
You know what? One thing though, I will say, when you're pitching or when you're on the field, you don't realize this. Like you don't see it. You just hear the crowd. Sometimes the crowd like
Manny. There's a chango, a chicken, and something else. They're running around. And you don't see this while you're pitching, you're not in that much of a zone.
Sometimes you'll hear like, you'll hear like the crowd cheering for like random stuff. Like, hey, shit, like I haven't even thrown the ball and they're already cheering, but they're cheering at Chango. But when you're playing, you don't really look at it as much. But when you're in the dugout or when you're not playing, like I literally spend 50% of my time watching the mascot.
Yeah. You really do.
Like you're like, oh shoot, what is he doing now? And then you're like, oh, here comes a pitch. oh, back to Tango. Like that's how it is, dude. Like
the other crazy thing about playing out there is how they play music up until you're gonna release the damn ball too. That was the other thing. I was like, whoa! Like obviously, when you're on the mountain, when I was on the mountain, you can't hear it, but you're literally getting your sign and the music's playing. As soon as you like start your wind up or you're out of the stretch, as soon as you come set, boom, the music stops, and you're just like, wow. But they're so good at picking it up, letting it go, picking it up, letting it go, picking it up, putting a stop on it. It's crazy. I mean, you see, like Manny said, you see Tango. He's out there getting every foul ball, and he's taunting the crowd, saying he's going to throw the ball, and then he throws it out of the stadium. It's a show, man. It really is. And I'm glad you experienced it when I was there, Beto. I mean, you saw a completely different world of baseball that you're just like, wow, this is cool because people come here. Everyone is having fun.
Yeah.
Their game ends. There's 2 hours of banda, literally banda playing after the game. People are dancing on the concourse, drinking beer. There's no cutting people off in the 7th inning. There's none of that. It's just we're going to have fun. We're going to have tacos. We're going to have Mexican food. You're going to have your beer. You're going to have your music. I would sometimes, the game would end. I would shower so fast, and I'd go to the concourse and grab a beer and listen to music because I was like, this is so cool. I've never seen this, you know? And I just go and hang out and sit there, have a couple beers after the game. And I was like, what's the difference between me having a couple beers in the clubhouse as opposed to coming up here and listening to music, you know, and just watching the vibe?
You know what I liked? It's, mind you, I've only saw the games in Tijuana. I went to a game in Mexicali. That was cool, but that was different. And then I've been to the Charlo State. I went to Guadalajara. Yeah, in Guadalajara, you were down there too. That was different. But in Tijuana, because it was the regular season and the town takes so much pride in your team, I think because Tijuana gets such a bad rap for everything, that they take so much pride that afterwards, when you were playing, Rick, we went in the concourse and the team, the fans are coming up to you. Oh, did we lose Manny again? Oh, there you go. The banda's playing, and I look over and it's Ricky and a couple other players are having some beers, and the fans are like, "Hey man, what's up? Cheers!" Not bothering you as players, and they're just letting you have your space because I'm enjoying it. So are you. There's no way that would ever happen in the major leagues.
I just didn't know who the hell I was. Like, I went and had a beer with Sanabia, and Sanabia's getting mobbed, and I'm like, whoa, this is cool. You know, this is cool. They don't give a shit who I am or what I've done in the big league. They're not. They love, like, Sanabia was obviously big time during that time. I mean, they won a title there. He was a guy there, and it was just, to me, it was like, my ego wasn't hurt by any means, but I was like, damn, like they really do pay attention to their guys here. And you've heard, I always heard stories about like Barry Enright, you know, how much they love them there. Miguel Olivo, like there's so many guys that have pitched in the big leagues here that went over there and they became these like crazy, like baseball heroes.
Hey, Manny, how are you treated down there? Like, because you're technically an American, right? You guys even had the hashtag Pocho Toros. How were you treated in the beginning?
In TJ?
Or just in general, down in the league.
General, like, honestly, so I'm a Pocho. Like, I was born in the States, but I pretty much speak, like, fluent Spanish. I mean, my first language is Spanish. So I came out here, and a lot of guys, like, thought I was, like, one of those, like, guys that jumped the border and grew up in the States. So they didn't really – a lot of guys didn't even know that I was born in the States. Until, you know, they started seeing that I was a Pocho or whatever. But I've been treated like pretty normal. Like I've been treated fairly. There is a, you know, and there is racism out here, and there is like, you know, some prejudice where people don't like us coming out here because they think we're taking their jobs. That is a part of the culture here. But I've been treated, you know, when you treat people with respect, you get respect back, and honestly, that's what I've gotten. There has been guys that I've seen come out here, and they come out here with a closed mind, and you know all they do is bash Mexico and bash the system, and those are the guys that get ran out of here pretty quick, and fans and other people really don't accept them as well. But when you come out here with the open mind, nothing, you know, there's nothing but good things out here.
Now let me ask this: for Winter League, where like say organizations will send down a hot prospect that they're wanting him to get some seasoning, and they go send him down to say Culiacan for a month. if the kid goes down there with the wrong attitude, what happens to him?
Oh, dude, the veterans will just like veterans, and I'll say a veteran now. Like we'll just run those guys out. Like there's been a couple guys that come out here and they think they're studs and they got the $1 million and they come out here and they show up late or they do dumb stuff and those are the first guys that, hey, we're on top of it. Guys will humble you really quick.
Also, if an organization sends a top prospect, and just because he's a top prospect here, and he goes down there and stinks for 2-3 weeks, let's say, for example, the Tomateros will be like, see ya, send us somebody else. Like, we need somebody else. Like, we
had. You remember?
This is not spring training where these guys are trying to win. This is serious stuff. They're not in to get the prospect, 50, 60, 70, 80 at bats. If he's not producing, and I've had friends go play in Venezuela, and they say, and guys who in the Dominican, and they say, man, that it's cutthroat. Like, if you don't produce, they cut you right away, and they get the next guy up.
Come on.
Oh yeah, dude. This isn't like in the States, and I would even say in Major League Baseball. This is about winning, and this is about winning every day. If you have a bad week, and I'm saying because we have Mondays off, right? So if you have a bad week where you lost both series, like you're pretty much like looking like whose head's gonna fly here because guys they're serious about not losing. They don't want to lose here, especially here in Culiacan or Toros de Tijuana. Like guys are like, you can win every single game, and if you lose one game, it's like, all right, who's gonna be out here? And if guys don't hit, it's like, all right, what batter are we gonna bring in? What batter are these guys going to bring in? What pitcher are these guys going to bring in? Because they don't want to lose. And that's like the difference between minor league baseball and, Mexico. Out here, it's win at all costs. And sometimes it means throwing 120 pitches and leaving your arm out there on the mound, but you got to win. And that's the difference, man. You see a lot of guys like you said, prospects that come out here and they get 2-3 at bats. They're not ready. There's guys that come out here. We had the shortstop now for I think he plays utility for the Royals, signed a big contract. I forgot his name. He's one of the guys now. Little guy, runs, he hits. I forgot his name, but he came out here and he just signed like $100 million contract with the Royals. And out here, he came out here for like 2 weeks, and guys were, everybody was like, even guys on the team were like, hey, let's get this guy out of here. We need to get a new one.
100 million. Who was it? I wonder who it is.
It's Merrifield.
Oh, he came out here. Or to Mexico.
Yeah, he was out here in Culiacan, and I mean, he struggled, dude. He struggled, and I mean, I think he ended up getting hurt, but they're about to get rid of him before he got hurt because he wasn't producing, and he ended up the next year being in the big leagues, and 2 years after that signing a huge contract. Like the guy was it, dude, but he just didn't work out out here.
And then Beto, there's these stories where, and Manny attests to this, like a guy like Isaac Rodriguez, who's a stud in Mexico, but he never got a chance to play in the United States.
Why?
He never. He played at a university somewhere in Missouri or Mississippi or somewhere out there, but he never got a chance. He never got drafted. Went to Mexico, and he's like has all these batting title breaks every year. He's a staple in that Toros lineup. I think he plays for Mochis, and there's so many stories of these guys that's unique and intriguing, like Manny's, like Isaac's, like guys that have made a name for themselves out there in Mexico. It's to me, it's fascinating.
It is. That's why I want to have Manny on, and we've talked about this because to tell the different stories and the different perspective of it. And I mean, I'm still learning a lot about what's going on down there and looking at it. And Ricky and I were even talking like, okay, we were going to go to the Serie de Caribe, like we were going to go to Mazatlan. We're going to go, but it's not. You can't have fans there, so we're not going. Because we're fancy golfers now, so we're gonna go golf and then watch Manny Day down there. But like
you actually can have fans out here in Mazatlan. Mazatlan's one of the crazy ones. There's like three places. There's like 3 places right now with this whole COVID thing. there's like 3 places that are wild with fans, like wild, like Guasave, Mazatlan, and I forgot which one else, but they're going crazy, like they're going crazy.
Yeah, I'm okay. This is my 23rd COVID test. I'm okay not going anywhere around fans. I'm okay.
For those that don't know, our boy Beto is calling the undercards to the Canelo fight this weekend. I think it's pretty dope. I mean, I know he doesn't like to say much about it, but hey, I'm gonna.
So what is he doing for us? Like, he's got Canelo. He's got
the guy's a hustler.
$1 billion athlete he's got to deal with.
Look, man, I like talking to the real people. You know, I like talking to the real athletes, and then and then I'll come and talk to you guys. So but yeah. So on Saturday, I'm if I do pass this damn COVID test, I was negative on Monday, but you never know how these tests work. I'll be doing the undercards of the Canelo fight. I'm doing 2 undercards play by play, and then I'll be doing the ringside reporting for the Canelo fight on Saturdays. That's why I'm here in San Antonio. Ricky's in LA. Manny's in Culiacan. Manny, you're so good, man. We're gonna have to do this again pretty soon. I mean, we're not wrapping it up, but I know you got stuff to do.
I was gonna say, I mean, he's also on track to. This is how crazy the crazy places baseball has taken him. He has a chance to actually represent Mexico in the Olympics too. Let's not forget about that, because Mexico qualified, and he's one of the guys that's on that team, or most likely going to be on that team. So, I mean, just when you think that baseball door closed on the American level, he's gone to Mexico, made a name for himself, and now he is possibly going to be an Olympian as well. I mean, that it doesn't get much better than that, you know. And
That's
to
awesome.
me, it's awesome. You know, he's done Serie del Caribe, who a lot of young players, I don't care if you're American or not, the guys that do play in those, they say it's the funnest baseball they've ever played. And now he's got a chance to represent Mexico in the Olympics. I mean, what are the odds of that? You know, that you're an Olympian.
Damn.
Yeah, like obviously COVID sucked for everyone, and I mean it just sucked for everyone out there. Everybody had plans, and everybody had you know things they thought they were going to be able to do. And one of those things was for me was going to the Olympics. We went to Japan last year and we played in the Premier 12. It started here in Mexico, then we went to Japan, and we beat Team USA for a berth in the Olympics. We're right now I think that we're one of 4 teams, and I think there's only going to be 6 or 8 teams that are going to be in the Olympics. The U.S. hasn't qualified, Dominican hasn't qualified, Venezuela hasn't qualified, Canada hasn't qualified, and those guys are like the big baseball name. And as Team Mexico, we beat the U.S. twice, and we beat them the semifinal game to get into the Olympics, and obviously we won our berth to the Olympics or whatever, and that was another crazy thing, just being able, coming out here and not knowing how people were going to accept me at first as a Mexican American, and to being a guy who helped Mexico qualify for the Olympics. That was another crazy thing, and that's why I'm so appreciative of Mexico. Like, it's done so much for me.
Yeah, and that's, I think, goes back to like the way you were brought up and your attitude about it, because a lot of guys would have been in your situation, because I've dealt with enough of them over the years, whether the guys I knew personally or have heard enough stories where they're 24 and they're like, man, forget this. The organization didn't care about me. They didn't do this. They worried about other stuff, and it was never their fault. It was always finger pointing.
Right.
You did, and I'm pretty sure Ricky's dealt with guys like this, where let me get the right attitude and find a new opportunity and create new adventures. And when you did that, Manny, did you ever doubt yourself that maybe you were making the wrong decision?
No, I always trusted the process. Like, here's the thing. I was a starter when I signed or whatever, and I started for like 2 years. I guess I wasn't like a huge prospect enough where I could stay starting. So I became a reliever. And when I came to Mexico at first, I was a reliever. And it was at that point in my career when I was like, dude, like, I need to figure it out. Like, things are not going good for me, and I'm going to be out of baseball soon. So I actually got traded from Culiacan, the team that I had started with, to another team. And when I got traded over there, it was a smaller team. I told them, I was like, hey, I want to be a starter. And they kind of like, all right, well, we'll give you a shot. And I was like, in my mind right then and there, I was like, all right, if they give me a shot and it doesn't work out, I'm going to retire. And I was 26 at that time, or 25 at the time, I think. And I was like, I'm going to retire. I'm going to retire from baseball if it doesn't work out. And I hadn't started in probably 5 years. So I was like, this is it. I go out there, good couple outings. Within 2 months, I threw my first no-hitter in the Mexican Winter League. First no-hitter. I ended up leading the league in ERA and a couple other categories. And that was it. That was what I knew. But my mentality, like you said, I was like, hey, I got to figure it out. Like, it's on me. It's nobody else's fault that things aren't working out for me. It's myself. Like, and there's times where, like, even in organized baseball, where it's like, hey, man, it's time to just reinvent yourself. Reinvent what you're doing, because when you're struggling for a couple of years, or even in life where you're struggling for a couple of years, you got to do something different. Like, you can't just keep getting stuck with the same things. So I gave myself that opportunity. I was like, hey, I'm going to try something different. If it doesn't work out, then this is it. Like, I got to choose another path. And luckily, you know, I stuck with it. But yeah, that's how it is. And everybody's story is different. Everybody's circumstances are different. If it was somebody else, and I've seen it, and I respect it too. Guys that stick around in minor league baseball for years and years, and finally get a shot. But I mean, I was getting married, you know, and I needed money. Like, I needed to make a living. I couldn't live with $4,000 or $5,000 a month, and then getting that cut by half or whatever. And that's what I needed to do. I needed to come out here. And, you know.
And honestly, Beto, I think the Mexican League, as far as in summer baseball, is growing more and more as of late, because I think guys are realizing, you know, they see the window closing here in the United States, and they're like, you know what? I hear these great things about Mexico and the money they're throwing at guys. I'm going to go over there. And a lot of guys make that transition, and then they make the big names for themselves out there. And then you got your mix of veteran guys. You still got Horacio Ramirez pitching. You know, you still got Jorge Cantu playing. I mean,
yeah.
Or Jorge Cantu, I should say. He's out there playing. So these guys, you know, it's one of those things where it's for the love of the game, and the guys that I feel like lose the love of the game here in the United States, they're going over there now, and they're like finding new love for the game. And it's what makes that summer league so special. You know, I never knew much about it, but when I got there, I was like, this is dope. You know, this is really cool, the way that the crowds embrace their teams, the Monterrey, the Toros rivalry that goes on, all that stuff. It's a different world, but it's definitely like, when people were like, oh, like, how's the baseball out there? I'm like, dude, it's competitive as hell. It's real baseball. These guys can hit. Like, some of these guys can play in the big leagues right now. You know, there's no doubt about that. You know, they just never got their shot. I mean, organizations think differently sometimes, and that's just the way it goes. But I feel like a lot of guys who go out there, they're not really that bitter towards Major League Baseball. It's like they're there, they're making good money, they're superstars there, and they're just like, I'm going to live this life. I mean, another guy who was a big time, Chris Robertson, right? I mean, he was big time. Yeah, he was big time here with the Phillies. I think I based on my my first spring training camp ever, and he's a big name in Mexico, like huge. Like, he has played for so many years. I believe he lives in Mexico. So there's all these stories of all these guys, American guys, who go over there and they just become these heroes. As I've said before.
Yeah, you got like Dominic Brown, who was an all-star, not too many years ago.
For the Phillies.
He's out here in Mexico. Yeah, for the Phillies. And he's a guy out here too. So everybody's different, because there's a lot of money to be made outside of, you know, organized baseball or organizational baseball with, you know, the U.S. There's guys out here making 3 figures easily. Like, there's guys easily making 3 figures playing out here. And
come on,
you mean 6 figers?
Oh yeah, 6 figures, 3 figures. yeah.
What? They're making $900.
Pesos and pesos. $900
too, though.
Hey,
there is guys.
Wait, so okay, that's what I'm asking. I mean, how much do you guys make?
It depends. It depends on what you do out here. Like, because I'll be honest.
Okay, let me separate it. Regular season summer league, a guy playing in those leagues. What would you say the pay scale?
Yeah.
Average, like say for Toros de Tijuana.
Okay.
Average, and I'm saying average is like 12, 13 grand a month.
What do you make in the minors? You said 4?
No, well, you pay, like, it depends. If you get a free agent contract, say you get 10, 15.
No, but I'll say in organized baseball in the United States, like you get like about 4 grand.
It depends, dude. It all depends. If you're on your first,
and the crazy thing in Mexico is at times they pay you cash too. So
come on, 15 grand cash.
Brown paper bags, homie.
No, you got that, Manny? A brown paper bag?
Yeah. Sometimes you get a lot of $5 bills, but cash money.
But it definitely is different. You also see the younger guys that come up through the academy, like when I was there.
Yeah.
And those guys make 3 figures.
They're making like $900.
And they're kind of like they're catching bullpens. They're doing the hard work.
Yeah.
But they're there and they have a chance. And next thing you know, I mean, we saw it with the Toronto Blue Jays catcher Alejandro Kirk, and he came up to the organization and made it to the big leagues. Hopefully they're not taking more money from him, but
you guys talk amongst yourselves. They're calling me for COVID. I'll be right back.
Hey, something about the talent out here in Mexico is like, dude, I played out here and the last game that I threw, or the no-hitter that I threw, was your last game playing baseball. If I can remember right, like that day you didn't make the trip, and I was like, hey, what happened to Ricky? And like, Ricky hung it up, and I was like, are you serious? Like that was your last game. Which is crazy. That was crazy.
Yeah. That's when it really hit me, honestly. When I was there, it was the clinching. We clinched against Monterrey. I looked around. It was a bullpen, and I looked around and I was like, damn, I'm the only one that didn't pitch this series. Me and Jordan Aboites. And Aboites was more just like a younger kid who was transitioning into pitching. So I was like, he doesn't really count, And I was like, I'm the only one that didn't pitch. I'm out. And I literally packed my bags that day, and I walked across the border with my bags and got in an Uber that took me to my car, from the border to my car, and then just drove at like 1 in the morning.
To your beach house.
To my beach.
You didn't go off into the sunset, into your your little shack. You went to your beach house. So let's be real here.
Well, first of all, which one? He's got 2.
We're probably a little bit less than if I had to worry about my last game.
Oh, and then now let's talk about that nice house I have in Toronto now.
You got that great mansion out in Toronto.
So whenever you want to come down, let me know.
Wow. All right, man. I know you got to go. You got to go to stretch. Tomatero fans are intense. They're crazy. Juan Huera says, "Wake up, the Tomateros! You guys are too good to be that far behind." Thanks for the support, Juan. Appreciate it, bro. Jeez.
He's right. We suck.
But hold on. He has an opportunity to watch a current pitcher on the Tomateros right now. We're giving him access to it because I was supposed to put this as private, but it's actually public. And instead of saying, "Hey, Manny, big fan," hey, wake up, let's go. Like, that's a Tomatero fan right there, right? They're jumping on you.
Tomatero fan, that's an organization saying, wake up, or we'll get a whole new team here tomorrow.
Dude, there's days, honestly, like you'll walk into the street, people recognize you, and then, hey, man, hey, what's up, and whatever. But if you're not doing good, and no matter how big of a guy you are, they'll freaking boo your ass, and they'll like clown on you, and they hate you. Like, it'll be like love to hate in 1 second. Like, dude, there'd be games, honestly, and there'd be games where I'll ball out the whole season. If I have one bad game, those same people that loved me they'll hate me. Like, hey, this guy sucks. Like, get him out of here. And they'll be yelling like, hey, take him out already. Let's go. Like, Yeah.
Oh,
You hear that when you're not doing well, you hear the fans. So you'll hear like, "Hey, ya sácalo," and I'm like, "Oh shit."
are you serious?
Yeah.
Oh
Like,
yeah.
the women are the worst ones, right?
Nah,
No, I'm saying
the men are crazy.
no, the insults for some of the women, because I know when I was in Tijuana, I heard some of the insults, and I was like that lady right there. Now,
Look at
That
Sanabria.
guy, look at
now this is what we were talking about earlier about
that. Like,
attacking the crowd in Mexicali. That is our good friend Alex Sanabria. That's what happens because the dugouts are
got
so
a better-
close to. There's a better one than that. The dugouts are so close to the fans. Have you seen any crazy brawls like that? Besides,
yeah, I've seen some crazy ones. I've seen like fans get like really close to the dugout where they'll like almost try to spit at players. Obviously, it's never happened, but they're yeah, I've seen some crazy ones. I've gotten death threats here in Culiacan, like from fans, like coming up to the dugout, and obviously security here is not as tight, so they'll get up on that dugout and they'll look down. They'll be like, "I'm gonna freaking kill you," and like you're like, "Oh shit!" Like maybe this guy will kill me because you don't know who you're dealing with out here sometimes. But but then you like you do your recon, and you realize like, oh, this guy's nothing. This guy won't hurt me. But yeah, there's some crazy stuff out here, dude. We actually had a guy who made it to the big leagues last year, 2 years ago, come out here, and on Twitter they told him, hey, if this guy's not off this team, we're gonna kill him. And it was a crazy fan, but you just got to take some of those things serious because you don't know who you're dealing with. And the guy's like, the guy posted up pictures on his personal account. The guy posted up pictures of him with like a gun, whatever. I'm gonna kill this guy. And it was Ryan McBroom. He's now with the Royals, and he's like, I'm out. And we told him like, dude, don't worry, we'll talk to somebody, see if it's true. And he's like, no, I'm out. And the Yankees like pulled him out of here. He's like, dude, he never showed his face again. And I mean, I don't blame him. If you don't know how the situation works out here, you gotta take precaution. But just talking. I mean, obviously, as a baseball player, and there's a lot of fans out here who are in different types of businesses, and they support you as well. So you have those type of contacts, and you're like, hey, dude, this is going on, and they're like, hey, don't worry about it, we'll take care of it, or don't worry about it, this is nothing, and that's how it works out here.
And we'll leave it at that.
But not once was I ever scared to be out there or do it. Like you take your precautions. There's times where when you're in the hotel, they say, "Hey, don't leave the hotel," or there's stuff that's going on outside. Just be careful. And boom, I was like, I'm listening to all of it, but I'm also not going to be scared or play scared or be scared about a fan saying like, it's not. Let's not paint the picture that it's like.
A lot of it's a lot worse on TV. And Ricky, you know how it is. Northern Mexico is a little bit more dangerous. It is. TJ is even a little more dangerous. But you go down south in Mexico, Yucatan, Cancun, Ricky, Oaxaca, and beautiful places, man. Beautiful places where honestly, there's just not. You don't feel in danger ever, and you're not. You just got, obviously, like anywhere else you go to a different country, you got to take your precautions, and you got to be safe out there. But there's nothing to fear out here in Mexico. You just got to be smart.
Yeah, don't start none, won't be none. Manny, this is the last thing I got for you. I'm gonna show you a picture. That man right there.
Oh, dude, that's my dad. If you can't tell, that's my dad.
There. Now, is he still catching?
My dad, he busted up his knee, but he was catching me actually like up until 2 years ago. He was still catching my pens. He was catching my pens, and I felt bad for Pops because he would just do one of these sometimes. But my dad, man, he's the guy who pretty much made me play baseball, and there was times where I hated him. But yeah, that's my dad. He freaking and you know what's crazy about this picture is that I think that was like one of the first times he had seen me play baseball, play professionally, and it was crazy that it was in a championship. So it was a great moment to be able to share with my parents. My parents never made it to a professional games. I played 10 years in minor league baseball in the States, and they were never able to make it to a game. Obviously, I live in Arizona, and I played out in the East Coast because of the Yankees, and every organization that I had pretty much had teams in the East Coast. And my parents were never able to make it. So that was a cool experience. My parents have been able to make it a few Mexico League games, and that's pretty cool.
Yeah, because your dad, I guess, was a stud in Sunday leagues, and he was still catching up until a couple years ago. What I read.
Yeah, my dad was a Sunday league catcher, and he would catch these guys at 385, and he swore like, "Hey, these guys are better than you." So I would always try to just fire up my dad's glove.
And then, but now to go and represent and do so much in your parents' native country, what's that been like for you?
Yeah, it's amazing. I actually have family here in Culiacan. My mom's family's from here, so they claim they're from a small town out here. So they claim me out here, and it's awesome. For me, it's like you said, being out here in Mexico and putting a Mexican uniform on. It's representing my parents. My dad always, and I'll say this because my dad, he's like the number one Mexican fan. He would take me to Naranjeros de Hermosillo games, and those were the first like moments that I recall like seeing professional baseball players. My first thing wasn't like, oh, I'm gonna go see the Dodgers, I'm gonna go see the Diamondbacks. It was coming out here and seeing Mexican League teams, and so I was so familiarized with the league that it was just all normal to me. But it was because of my dad. And obviously, once you get a little older, you see like American baseball. But I was always taught Mexican baseball and about their culture too. So
crazy.
Oh, that's cool. How old are you now, Manny?
I'm 32, man. Too old to be back in. Yeah,
32. So at 32, what would Manny tell his 18-year-old self?
Oof. That's a good one, huh? That's how we finish it up. That's good.
That's a good one, dude. I would say just be more patient. Be more patient because I was really impatient as a 19-year-old, and I came home one time as a 19-year-old prospect. I came home instead of showing up to a live VP that I had scheduled with the Yankees. I came home. I was sick of being in extended spring training. I'm sure you had a couple of those, Ricky. Extended spring training, and I was like, I'm out of here. And I was 19 years old. Like, well, what the heck was I thinking? Like, that's where I was supposed to be, and just if I would have had more patience, and even up until I was like 23, I was still really impatient. I wanted things to happen like right away, and that's not how things work. You just gotta pay your dues. You gotta give yourself time to mature, and I think patience is be more patient.
That's a good one. I feel like we get that a lot from the guys, just being more patient, and it's pretty natural, I think, at that age to be like you want everything to happen so quick at 19. And you're probably thinking like, I don't belong at this level. I can pitch at the high A level. I can pitch at the double A level, and instead of just taking it all in and saying, okay, this is where I belong. This is where I got to prove myself. Everything else is going to take care for itself. And
yeah,
fortunately for you, obviously, it's taking you the Mexico direction, and it's worked out for you perfectly fine. You're doing your thing out there, and for me, it's fun when I get to see sometimes that the stuff that you post and stuff like that to see your success. That's always a good thing, and that's the reason why I wanted to have you on this podcast was like, this is a good dude, and his story is probably the most unique out of everyone we've ever had. And just the route that you've taken. So, thanks again for doing this for us.
Thank you guys, man. I know we always talk crap to each other back and forth, but it's a lot of respect. Obviously, Beto, with what you're doing and what you've done and what you've accomplished, and Ricky, what you've done, man. And now that you have this big mansion in Toronto, maybe you'll have us out there one day. Maybe we can maybe from your from your like balcony, we can like oversee Drake's house. So that'd be pretty cool.
Well, Drake's at the bottom of the hill. So he's behind the gate, man. Get it right. But Manny, good luck to you. Stay safe in Culiacan. And a lot of support for the fans to come in here. Like everybody, tell him, Manny. There you go, tomateros, all this other stuff. So good for you, Manny. Good luck to you. Finish up the season strong. We'll see you in Tijuana hopefully soon. Take care of the wife and the kid, all that other stuff. Dude, you talked for an hour and a half, believe it or not.
Dude, I talk a lot. What can I say? Like, I'm a loudmouth, and I never shut my mouth.
No, but that's good though. That's good for a podcast though. That's good for a podcast.
I would have never known that. I would have never. You know we were gonna be like, dang, we were gonna talk for an hour. No, I would have never known that.
And we didn't even scratch the surface of when A-Rod and Curtis Granderson and they went into the Trenton Thunder uniform, right? They were your teammates.
Dude, I've had some pretty cool teammates, like Roger Clemens one time. I was like a rookie, and I went into the freaking cold tub, or I was in the cold tub, and he wanted to get in, and I was just like, do I get out?
No.
Like, joined me right in there, and I was like, oh, shoot, like, I don't know if this is a problem for me. That was great.
Yeah, no, the correct thing was for you to get your ass out of that tub and leave Roger Clemens alone.
Dude, I said it. Like, I asked him, I was like, all right, he's like, can I use it? And I was just like, yeah, I'll be out of here. And he's like, no, he's there. And I was just like,
he was probably being sarcastic, saying like, hey, can I use it? Like, he meant get the F out.
Yeah. Hey, rookie. Hey, it's okay. When you're done, can I use it?
Yeah. But he talked to me. Hey, he talked to me for like 15 minutes that I was in there. He was cool. He was really cool. But yeah, he probably one of the reasons why I got released like 6 months. Hey, remember the Roger Clemens incident? Like, yeah, you're out of here, dude.
Yeah, you're the one that was hogging the tub. Yeah, you're out.
Yeah, he made sure to point. Manny Barreda, go and follow him on Instagram and on Twitter. Manny Barreda. Manny Day is coming up. I swear to you, use the hashtag Manny Day and you'll see it. Hey, can we get a T-shirt? What?
I do. I don't have one with me. They're I think they're in the clubhouse, but I got a couple shirts. I'll send you guys out there.
You really have Manny Day T-shirts?
Yeah, they made a couple shirts for me. What can I say? Hey, I'm a big deal out here, Beto, man.
Hey, send a couple shirts. We need one for Ricky's mansion in Toronto, and we need one for his house in Malibu, and one for his house in Newport. Okay, so make sure you send.
All right.
I need some kind of material to dust off my house, so my TV.
Your new minivan's about to have my logo on it.
Manny Day, Manny Barreda.
All right, guys.
All right, appreciate it, Manny. Go stretch. All right, we'll talk to you guys soon.
All right.
Bye.